A third approach in explaining the purpose for Netilat Yadayim, along with the bracha Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvotav, involves the usage of some Kabbalistic concepts. But first, by way of an introduction, allow me to digress for a moment to a pithy statement attributed to a Greek poet, Homer, credited with being the first to write down the epic stories of the Iliad and the Odyssey. The impact of his tales continues to reverberate through Western culture. There's a great deal of uncertainty as to when Homer lived. The general consensus is that he lived about the 9th or 8th century BCE. Traditionally portrayed as blind, and some claim that he was also illiterate. The period of the 9th and 8th century BCE was also around the time that the first Beit HaMikdash was completed. Homer, of course, was living in an area now known as Greece. The activities of the Beit HaMikdash obviously took place in Eretz Israel. A fascinating piece of trivia regarding the completion of the Beit HaMikdash is that it took place on the 7th of Tishrei. Shlomo HaMelech gathered all the Bnei Israel to celebrate the arrival of the Aron HaKodesh into the Beit HaMikdash. The festivities lasted for 7 days and included eating, even on the 10th day of Tishrei, Yom Kippur. A quote attributed to Homer was that sleep and death are linked. They are twin brothers. This idea found its way into the Talmud Bavli Brachot 57a, where the Gemara states that there are 5 couplets, 5 sets of 2, where echad, one of the couplets, is mishishim, 1/60th of the other. Elohein, these 5 couplets are as follows: fire, honey, Shabbat, sleep, and a dream. Of interest with respect to the mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim is the 4th of the 5 couplets, Shina, sleep, echoing the concept attributed to Homer that Shina echad mishishim lemita. Shina is sleep, mita is death. Sleep is 1/60th of death. Of course, this does not mean that after sleeping 60 days one dies, but rather on a qualitative level. They are a couplet with similarities shared by each. This link between sleep and death will underpin the third approach in explaining the need for mitzvah netilat yadayim prior to tefillah, and that is that its purpose is the removal of the residual ruach hatumah. Unpacking the concept recorded in Masechet Brachot that Shina Echad Mishishim Lemita, that there is a 1:60 ratio between one's sleep throughout one's lifetime and the finality of death. From the standpoint of Orthodox thinking, death is understood as the severing of a relationship between the neshama and the guf, the soul and the body. Then the 1:60 ratio of sleep would also suggest a departure of the neshama, or at the very least certain aspects of the neshama, from the body to be returned upon awakening. And, as has been noted elsewhere, this is precisely the theme of the Moda'ani Tefillah. The counterbalance to the Moda'ani is the pasuk located in Sefer Tehillim 31:6. Aside from the 3 tefillot of Shachrit, Mincha, and Mariv, there is a 4th, the Kriyat Shema al Hamitah. Obviously, there are the 3 paragraphs of the Kriyat Shema, but beyond that, there are various minhagim as to what other tefillot should be included into the Kriyat Shema al Hamitah. According to the Chabad Nusach, the Kriyat Shema al Hamitah ends with the bracha of Hamapil, whereas according to Nusach Ashkenaz, the Birkat HaMapil is recited before the 3 paragraphs of the Kriyat Shema. In the Chabad Nusach, there is a Vidui. In the Nusach Ashkenaz, we have the Adon Olam. Just before the bracha of Hamapil, in the Chabad Nusach, and following some very strange Kabbalah-like utterances, we have the Biyadacha Afkid Ruchi, the theme of which is, as one prepares to sleep, that one entrusts one's neshama into the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, an assertion that is the flip side to the Modeh Ani Lefanecha, taking this concept one step further, that if upon death the departure of the neshama causes the body to attract what is euphemistically described as a ruach tumah, a state of tumah, so too, by extension, if sleep reflects the partial departure of the neshama from the body throughout the night, there will also be an aspect of tumah that leaves the body upon the return of the neshama, but not entirely. The above underpins the halacha that upon awakening and the return of the neshama we wash our hands to remove the remaining vestiges of tumah from our fingertips. In many communities, this early morning washing is referred to as negel vasa. Vasa, Yiddish for water, negel, Yiddish for the nails or the fingertips. In some circles, this water is placed next to the bed to ensure that the individual does not walk more than daled amot with the ruach hatumah upon the body. In summing up, we can approach the minhag obligation for Netilat Yadayim from three directions. The first, a very much down-to-earth approach, that the Netilat Yadayim provides the individual with a physical cleansing of the hands. The second relies on the view that a tefillah is a replacement for the avodah of the Beit HaMikdash, and just as a washing was required by the Kohanim prior to the avodah, so too nowadays in the post-Churban period, prior to our undertaking our personal avodah, we also will wash our hands. And the third is the Kabbalistic type explanation that the washing of the hands removes the Ruach HaTumah that remained upon the individual during the time when he or she was asleep.